Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a quick, and I mean quick, episode edition conversation of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. My name is Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Yesterday, on what was the 31st of July 2023, the West Indies named the T20 Squad to play India. That series commences, don't even have my diary ready. Let me get my diary ready, people. That series commences on Thursday, the 3rd of August 2023. And actually, before I continue, this is being recorded on the celebration of Emancipation Day in the Caribbean. So big up to all those celebrating around the region with regards to Emancipation Day. And of course, at the time of recording, it's about 55 minutes before the start of the decider, the third ODI between England and India. Give us free. So yes, the T20 squad has been named. Let me just give you the synopsis of the press release that came out. The 15-man squad. The West Indies press release actually said there will be they named a 15-man provisional squad, which will travel to all of the matches. And then from that, there will be a 13-member squad for each match, from which the final 11 will be chosen to start. So first things first, this is the 15-man squad. Rovman Powell, captain. Carl Mayers, vice-captain. Johnson Charles, Roston Chase, Shimron Hetmeyer, Jason Holder, Shea Hope, Akil Hussein, Alzari Joseph, Brandon King, Obed McCoy, Nicholas Pooran, Romario Shepherd, Odean Smith, and O'Shane Thomas. There will be 5 T20 internationals. The first, as I said, begins on Thursday at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Trinidad. You then have 2 back-to-back matches, or not back-to-back, but 2 in a row in Guyana at the National Stadium. One on Sunday, the 6th of August, and one on Tuesday, the 8th of August. They then end the series with 2 games in Florida at the Broward County Stadium. And those are back-to-back. So that's next weekend, the 12th, Saturday the 12th, and Sunday the 13th, 2 back-to-back T20s in Florida. So it's a 5-match T20 series. In terms of particular points that were made by the lead selector, Dr. Desmond Haynes said, the squad is selected with the next ICC Men's T20 World Cup in mind. We are looking at various plans as we try to find the right combinations as we prepare. We are looking to build a unit which we believe can do the job when we host a global event in just under a year. And remember that the T20 World Cup is in the Caribbean and the United States, and that is next June. We have some match winners in our lineup, and we look to have the right kind of preparation starting here in Trinidad on Thursday. Haynes added, we also have other players who could come into consideration going forward, and with the Caribbean Premier League starting next month, others will come into the reckoning. So that was a squad that was named, and as is the want and as is predictable in the region, the cuss-out began almost immediately as the squad was released. For anybody who follows us on Instagram, you can see the ticker tape below at Carib Cricket. I did a video on Instagram last night where I basically said as a snapshot, I don't think there's many complaints really and truly about the squad. Dr. Haynes held a press conference yesterday. I attended that. And again, to be fair to Desmond Haynes, he answered all the questions put by the journalists. I think he provided as clear a rationale as he could for all of the different queries and questions about particular players and this, that, and the other, that I think most of you should have got your hands on that kind of press conference by now. Certainly the different news outlets in the region will have covered it. If you're a patron, I will have put that press conference in the patron group as well, Discord group, etc. If you wanna get see that, join the Discord group, get in the comments below, or become a patron of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. So the squad, straight off the top of my head, like I say, I didn't really have that many issues with it. So if we just go down name by name, you should see what I mean. So Rodman Powell, captain, no brainer. Carl Mayers, vice captain and opener, no brainer. Johnson Charles has, and actually, let me stop at Johnson Charles, because Johnson Charles is a really good example of, if people are going to be critical of certain players in, and I'm not saying Johnson is one of them, but if people are going to be critical of certain players in the West Indies team, you have to remember that this is T20 cricket. You cannot judge someone's inclusion in the T20 side based on their form in Test cricket or ODI cricket. This is purely about, do they deserve to be there based on T20 cricket? Johnson Charles does that. That's an absolute no-brainer. When our most recent T20 series was in South Africa, and Johnson Charles scored the most runs of any of the West Indian batters in South Africa. People may forget they hit 118 in one of those T20 matches and struck at a strike rate of 239. So it's an absolute no-brainer that Johnson Charles keeps his place in the squad. The issue around Johnson Charles is, where is he going to play? If Johnson Charles plays, is he number 3? Is he opening? Who are the openers? Is it King and Mayers, then Johnson Charles? Or is it King and Charles, then Carl Mayers comes somewhere else in the order? So there's just some issues around final 11, but make no mistake, Johnson Charles deserves to be there. Roston Chase. Now, some people have an issue with Roston Chase being in the side, but I think it's worth me pointing this out, right? Roston Chase's last 2 T20 series, he's only played 3 if you include the 2021 World Cup. Roston Chase's last 2 T20 series, he went to India last year, played 3 matches, 12 overs, 6 for 62 at an economy of 5. Okay, 6 for 62 across a 3-match series at an economy of 5. Roston Chase's last engagement was in South Africa. He played 2 matches, took no wickets, granted, for 43 runs. He only bowled 4 overs at an economy of 10.75. Now, on the surface of it, some people immediately go, that's why he should be dropped. What do you mean he took no wickets in South Africa at an economy of 10.75? But for those people who forgot about that series in South Africa, that series in South Africa was an exceptionally high-scoring series. If you remember that T20 series, every match, it was upwards of 200 runs being scored. And if you go back and look at the performance of the West Indian bowlers, the only bowler who went at a lower economy than Roston Chase was Alzarri Joseph, who is our best bowler, right? And Alzarri Joseph went at 10.16. To give you some other examples, Sheldon Cottrell went at 12. Jason Holdrett went at 11.25. Akil Hussein went at 15.25. Romario Shepherd went at 11. So when you put those 2 series together, believe it or not, and you lot know I'm no big fan of Roston Chase, but I am objective. When you put those 2 series together, what has Chase done to deserve a drop? What has he actually done to deserve to not be in the T20 side? Once Roland Butcher and Desmond Haynes decided that they wanted an off-spinner in the side, they haven't done anything. Roston Chase hasn't done anything to justify being the one to hold a drop. Name me a better off spinner than Roston Chase currently to get in the side instead of him, and give me some T20 data that supports your argument. Listen to what I just said. Name an off spinner that is better than Roston Chase, who has the requisite T20 data to support putting them in the side instead of Roston Chase. Because everyone's going to naturally say, Kevin Sinclair should be in the side. Give me the data to back it up. And the data you'll give me is what he's done in either domestic cricket. It'll have to be domestic cricket, because what else are you going to give me? And even that domestic cricket will be red ball cricket, right? Or it'd be red ball. What data are you going to give me to say that Kevin Sinclair should come into the side instead of Roston Chase? Other than the fact he's been bowling well this year in red ball cricket, but this is T20 we're talking about, which is a completely different skill set, right? So I get it. I'm not saying I'm necessarily 100% in favor of it, in terms of, I know what everyone feels about Roston Chase. He's always in every squad and this, that, and the other. But in terms of T20, I think he probably deserves his spot, or he hasn't done enough to deserve to lose his spot. So I get it. My bigger issue when we go further down the squad is that there's no leg spinner in the squad. That's my bigger issue. But if you're going to pick an off spinner, it probably has to be Ruston Chase, arguably, right? Going further down the list, Shimon Hetmeyer, the no brainer. Once Shimon Hetmeyer was back for the ODI squad, of course he's going to be back for the T20 squad. The issue around Shimon Hetmeyer is what role is he going to play? In South Africa, in our last series, Raymond Reefer batted at number 6, right? A right-handed batter will have to split Nicholas Pooran and Shimon Hetmeyer. Just sheer normal cricket T20 construction would mean that you're surely not going to go Nicholas Pooran 4, Shimon Hetmeyer 5, left-hander following left-hander. Surely they wouldn't do that, right? And they're the two best players in the squad in terms of T20 cricket, in my opinion. In terms of with the bat, you split them, and the person most likely to split them would be Rovman Powell, you would think. So Pooran 4, Powell 5, Shimron Hetmeyer 6. And the reason why I put Shimron Hetmeyer at 6 is because that's the role he's being played in the IPL. They've repackaged him as a finisher. So I expect Shimron Hetmeyer to play number 6 West Indies and be a finisher. Yes, there's huge issues that I've got about his long belly and how clearly no fitness test has been done to or no criteria has been applied to allow Shimron to come back into the side. But that's another argument for another day. Jason Holder, yep, no brainer. If we dive deeper, maybe there are some questions around the role that Jason Holder plays, but at this moment in time, his inclusion will still be a no-brainer, and you would think that he will slot in at number 7. Let me just pull up some stats on Jason Holder, because I know how some people love to come after Jason Holder as if he's not done anything for West Indies in recent times, right? So in terms of T20 cricket, where are we? That's with the bat. Let's look at him with the ball. So T20 cricket, at the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup, Jason took, where are we? 5 wickets for 49 runs. So an average of 9 or 10 per wicket. His economy was 4.7. I thought he was, again, it was a high scoring series in South Africa. So I told you already that Alzari Joseph had the best economy. Then it was Roston Chase. After that, it was probably Jason Holder, who went at 11s. Okay. Jason Holder probably, before that we played in Australia. He went in the economy of 8. My issue with Jason, if I'm going to be honest with you, is I don't know how much of a wicket-taking threat he is. Sometimes I feel like he's too inconsistent from a wicket-taking perspective, but then you have to ask yourself, is Jason one of the better bowlers in terms of economy? And in this West Indies lineup, yeah, he probably is. Does that mean that Jason Holder is a lock in all circumstances and going forward? No, not necessarily. But for now, I can work with it because of his economy. He's generally speaking, his economy rate in T20 cricket. They just need to be mindful as to when and where they bowl Jason Holder. I'm not a big fan, I should say, of Jason Holder at the death. So I think there's some bigger questions about the best time to utilize Jason Holder and the tactical consideration in terms of who bowls at the death and all of that. But yeah, Jason Holder should be in the squad. Shai Hope is back in the squad. Lots of people have raised questions about that. I can tell you what Desmond Haynes said in the press conference. Desmond Haynes said that Shai Hope is batting tremendously well, and he believes that Shai Hope is an all-format player and should be playing all formats for the West Indies. I took that, and then he let out a wry smile afterwards, because it was me who asked him the question, actually. And I laughed after he said it as well, because I think Des was basically letting everyone know Shai's coming back into the test squad. I can't hate on that. I think Shai probably deserves another chance. Shai in the T20 squad, some people say they don't understand. I'm not against it, I'm not against it. Everyone will always talk about the so-called Marlon Samuels role and somebody kind of gluing the innings together. I think Shai Hope has got better as a T20 cricketer. If they want Shai Hope, I don't think he necessarily gets in the team. No, they'll try him at some point. doesn't get in your first 11. But if they want somebody who's got the capacity to be a floating right-hander who splits Pooran and Hetmeyer, obviously that's going to be Rodman Powell to start off with. He's the captain. But if they wanted somebody as a kind of backup, yeah, I can see how they'd go to Shea Hope. So I'm not anti it as much as other people, but I just wouldn't expect Shea Hope to be in our best 11 or starting 11. Akil Hussein. So Akil Hussein keeps his spot because of how good he's been in white ball cricket over the last 18 months, 2 years, or whatever it is. Yes, he had a subpar series in South Africa. Yes, he had a subpar time in the old ODI World Cup qualifiers, but I don't think we should hold that against Akil Hussein. He is still one of our best T20 bowlers. But if I was Akil Hussein, I'd be nervously looking over my shoulder because there's a certain Gudakesh Moti that is coming for his spot. So Akil needs to have a strong series here, but I think he deserves to be given the benefit of the doubt and certainly keep his spot for his wider body of work that he's put in since being part of the West Indies limited over side. Azari Joseph doesn't need discussion, obviously. Brandon King doesn't need discussion, obviously. Obed McCoy. So Des said that Obed has been battling some personal stuff in his life, which is one of the reasons why he's not been in the side for a while. He also indicated that Obed has had some injuries. People have to remember that Obed tends to break down quite often. That's no slight on Obed. That's no shade on Obed. That's just facts. He tends to break down quite often. But when we have a fit Obed McCoy in our starting 11, he immeasurably improves our T20 side. He can bowl the change up. He's got the best stock of variety bowling in the slower ball, the bouncer, the quicker one, the off cutter. Obed McCoy has the best variety of bowling for a seamer in the Caribbean. Once Dwayne Bravo or DJ Bravo stepped down, Obed McCoy is the next best bowler in the Caribbean in terms of variety of bowling. And if he's fit, he absolutely starts in our best T20 side. Obviously, he offers the left arm seam. Desi also said that Cottrell and Dominic Drakes had come into consideration, but once Obed McCoy was fit, he's ahead of the pack, and I completely agree with that. Nicholas Pooran, no brainer. Romario Shepherd and Odean Smith. So, again, worth reminding people, in the recently completed series in South Africa, Romario Shepherd scored 88 runs across 3 innings at a strike rate of 191. Odean Smith didn't really go so well with the bat, but then he only faced 10 balls, so can we really judge him? But with the ball, Odean Smith took 3 wickets he bowled 4 overs in the 2 matches he played, took 3 wickets for 63, so high economy, but he was the second best wicket taker. Odean Smith is one of those kind of high risk, high reward type players. When it comes off for Odean Smith, big operative word being when, you know it's a match-winning contribution. The question mark around Odean Smith is it's always a big risk around Odean Smith. He could easily get licked down, and when he gets licked down, it's a match-losing contribution. But because of his high pace and his ability to bowl the heavy ball and go at over 90, it's a risk worth taking. So Odean comes back in. Again, the issue will be how do you fit Romario Shepherd and Odean Smith in a side? It's long felt, or most kind of cricket heads would say that it's one or the other. Romario is, at this juncture, you could argue that Romario is Romario's the better batter, I think, in terms of consistency. Is Odean the better bowler? I'll leave that for you lot in the comments. But either way, I think it's one or the other. I've got nothing against both being in the side. But I just think, again, similar to what I said about Jason Holder, it comes back to your configuration of your final 11. Do the selectors, does the head coach genuinely believe you can fit Odean Smith and Romario Shepherd in the same side? I don't know about that one. And then the last pick is O'Shane Thomas. So I asked Desmond Haynes about O'Shane, and Desmond gave me a detailed answer. Again, if you've watched the press conference video or listened to the audio, you already know. But for those who haven't, so I said to Desi, how long has O'Shane been in the conversation? And Desi admitted that O'Shane has come out of the wilderness. So Desi's answer effectively was they reached out to O'Shane, or O'Shane reached out to Cricket West Indies and said, I beg, please, I'm willing to play for West Indies. Give me another chance. O'Shane has been working closely with strength and conditioning coaches in Cricket West Indies in terms of being sent clear kind of strength and conditioning workout regimes that he has to follow. I know that O'Shane has lost over 25 pounds in the last 6 months or maybe more following that regime and working to get himself into the best conditioning he can be for a professional athlete. Obviously, O'Shane has also been playing club cricket in Gloucestershire, in England. Desi said that the team in Gloucestershire has been sending them the videos of O'Shane's bowling. Des said that him and Roland Butcher are happy with what they've seen, and as a result, they invited O'Shane back into the camp. What I don't know for certain, and reading between the lines, is I suspect that O'Shane is with the camp, but he is not fit enough to actually play. That's why we haven't seen him in the ODI series. I mean, at the time of recording, for all I know, O'Shane's about to be named in the final ODI against India. I doubt it, but I'm not convinced that O'Shane is is fit the right word? I'm not convinced that O'Shane is match ready for the highest stage of international cricket. But I agree, based on what Des has now said, about the notion of getting him back in and around the camp, bowling in the nets at the West Indian men's senior level, and reacquainting himself with and understanding what is required moving forward. Des also went on to say that in an ideal world, you have someone like an O'Shane Thomas coming into consideration in Test cricket, because, again, of the raw skill set that O'Shane offers that not many bowlers in the region do. O'Shane at his best is probably the quickest bowler in the region, quicker than Alzari, quicker than Odean Smith, so on and so forth, right? And that's a skill set that if they can harness and get out of O'Shane, then, yeah, it's a no-brainer. So, yeah, that's effectively what Des was saying about O'Shane Thomas. For those who don't know, O'Shane has signed with the Leeward Island Hurricanes franchise, so we would expect O'Shane to be playing for them in Super 50 and in the first-class tournament, which will begin sometime in January or February at the start of 2024. So we monitor and we look to see how O'Shane Thomas gets on. There are question marks about should O'Shane have been called into the squads if he's not ready to play at the top level. But I'll leave that for you lot in the comments. For all I know, they'll give him a game. But I just hope that if they do give him a game, he isn't horrendously exposed. Because you know that kind of like mental setback thing where it's like, okay, India just lit you down, but it's okay. It's all part of the process. I just don't know. So let's wait and see if he plays any games. But I wouldn't be surprised if he plays no games. But then again, on the flip side, if you're going to test him out, 4 overs, like you can get through 4 overs, whatever level of cricket. If you're fit, you're fit. You can get through 4 overs. Whether you can get through 4 overs without being completely licked down, well, that's another question altogether. So that's the West Indies T20 side. I know, like I say, people say Gudakesh Moti, they'll say Kevin Sinclair. I think the issue is, my issue that I had is where was Yannick Correa? Not because I think Yannick Correa is any kind of world beater, but I just think that the modern T20 side at any level, domestic level, around the world or international cricket, if they've got a leg spinner, they carry a leg spinner. I was just surprised that in a squad of 15, there was no room for the leg spinner. And I asked Des about that. Des said they wanted to go with a combination of the left arm, slow orthodox, so what's that, Akil Hussein, and the right arm off spinner, Ruston Chase. They didn't want to go with a combination of a leg spinner for this particular series. Fine, but I just think there should always be a leg spinner in your T20 side. Anyways, people, get at me in the comments below. Oh, sorry, finally, people say, where's Evan Lewis? Just to clarify, Evan Lewis, Desmond Haynes said this a few months back, has said that he is not available for selection until after CPL. So there's no point in asking any questions about Evan Lewis. Let's see what happens after CPL. So anyways, get at me in the comments below. You know the drill as usual, people. Like, share, subscribe, follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, at Carib Cricket, website, www.caribbeancricketpodcast.com, Facebook. Just search Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'll add you to the group. And if you want to support us, you can become a patron of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast for as little as $1, whatever your currency. www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. I've been Machel St. Patrick here at one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Get at me in the comments below. Thank you and good morning.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.